In the previous solo episode, we talked about the importance of playing infinite games, defining your own big dream, and how we can dream like a kid again to set our current vision no matter how old we are. In the next solo episode, we will take all of the ideas we've come up with over the last little while, and we'll pick one thing to focus on, making it a priority for a little bit. But today, I'll share 7 ways that you can try things out quickly if you feel like you need to double check the list of ideas that you have before we go and pick that one thing. The term dream big appears on t-shirts, water bottles, posters, many other things that we see in our day-to-day life, and I absolutely love seeing it. Another thing that's pretty popular is the idea of focusing on your one big dream, your one thing, as the book made popular, the idea of just focusing on that dream and pursuing it without a plan B. You know, like those shirts that say, eat, sleep, make music, eat, sleep, play hockey, repeat, whatever it is. The idea of focusing on one thing. I love both of those concepts, big dreams and focus. But what if you don't know what your one thing is? Or what if you don't know how to dream big at all? Over the last 14 solo episodes, I've shared a lot of tips about how to dream big and how to think of many ideas that could become our one thing. However, I know, because people tell me all the time, that oftentimes we still don't have solid ideas that we feel really good about. And that's where the art of trying things comes in. Because at the end of the day, this is always a chicken and an egg problem. What comes first? The passion or trying things? The trying things or your passion? Either way, it's important that we just try stuff. When I first started using social media, which really in relative terms was not that long ago, I was really stuck on what to make my handle. I didn't want simply to put the personal brand of my name, Justin, at the forefront. While it might have been a good business decision to build around my actual name, I kind of wanted a digital guise. Not because I wanted to hide per se, but because I wanted to share my message in the actual handle itself, to kind of have that like front door to my social media world, have a poster on it that says what I stand for. And that's why I started using the handle Just Tries. The fun bonus was that a lot of my real name actually exists in those words. But the biggest reason I wanted to have trying at the very front of my online persona was because I am a big believer in the fact that none of us have this life figured out, nor will we ever really. We can get closer and closer and closer, of course, but there's really no end. So in the meantime, all we can do is just try. And the same is true for figuring out what we want to pursue as a goal, a dream, or our one thing. Now, before we dive into the 7 methods of trying things out, it's important to review a couple key points. For one, there is no right answer. Like Cara Ricketts said in JKL interview 35, there are no right answers. Put another way, there are no wrong answers either. When it comes to brainstorming ideas for your life, career, and goals, it's all specific to you. And so there is not a right or wrong, pass or fail when it comes to figuring this out. Of course, I do hope this podcast and the insights that I can provide are able to help guide you at least a little bit on this journey, but the only person who can ultimately figure this out is yourself. And it's important to note that there is actually more than one thing. As much as we use the term one thing or speak about our dream as a single item, it is actually extremely rare that we only have one thing to be super passionate about. The closest sort of classic examples might be a Tiger Woods in golf or Billie Eilish in music, but even then, I'm sure they would likely share that they find other things to be passionate about as well. And regardless of our career pursuit, each of us have many more intrinsic things to be passionate about. We all have to play other infinite games that include our health, well-being, relationships, and hobbies. But for the sake of being able to make exponential progress on a concrete, specific big dream, we do want to be able to identify our one thing to pursue beyond those foundational passions we have. It's just important that we don't take it too literal and block those other things out from being important contributors to living a well-rounded life. Now, you might already have a solid idea of what that one thing could be for you, but if you don't, then it's time to get curious, creative, and start trying things. Our curiosity and our creativity are the test tools that are way more valuable than like a personality quiz. It's common practice to give people a career path test in school. They often use things like personality, interests, strengths, skills, and give surveys with the hopes of pointing people in the right direction. But like many things that are designed to be simple and quick and easy, these tests don't really apply to real life. Of course they might, for some people, but for most of us, the passion, dreams, and goals will only be ignited after we have tried something out. Not after someone else tried it out and told us about it, or after we gave a few little hints and tips and then something told us what we would enjoy. No, after we have actually tried it and decided if it is energizing, motivating, engaging, and something we can see ourselves doing. Now, I'm sure there are many ways that you could try things out, but I know of 7 specific, concrete, fast, and free methods that I think are a little bit different than each other that you could apply to any of these things that you want to give a try. We're getting really close to picking one thing to make a priority and focus on. Now, again, I know I've said this a few times, but I can't say it enough. It's a highly individualized and personal pursuit. So at this point, you may have 15 possible paths brainstormed. You might already know that one thing. You may have 0, or honestly, you could be anywhere in between. But once we do have some things in mind, any amount of things, it can be worth it to use mini bets or trial runs to test them out. We can do a little more research to fuel our self-reflection in a low-cost, low barrier to entry, small commitment kind of way. Put your top competing ideas and possible pathways to the test using one or more of the following methods. 1. Create a pilot. Definitely my favorite way to take bias towards action is what my handle Just Tries says, just try it. Simple as that. Use a scientific method mindset to try it out and create like you would a pilot for TV. So you would pick one simple, specific thing to accomplish. For example, a 90-second trailer for a new podcast, recording one song, the first blog post for a new website, playing your first 10 hours of Fortnite, doing 6 CrossFit workouts, completing a small canvas painting. Really, I could go on forever because it's anything that gives you a quick, less than a month, nearly free, specific thing to try. Number 2. Create a 30-day documentary or memoir. Similar to randomly trying things, but adding some structure in a way to document the process. Pick something that you would like to try and give it a quick trial run, but document what you learn, how you feel, the challenges, highs, the lows, and visions that come to mind along the way. Create this in the form of a vlog, blog, podcast, or personal memoir that you share with others if you feel like inspiring, or that you'd rather keep private to yourself. For example, if you may want to become a chess master or musician, document yourself going from your current baseline to just however far you can get after 30 days. 3. Join a membership. There are forums, groups, and in-person meetups for just about everything under the sun. Join a membership that's in line with a personal passion you have. Even if you stay for 10 minutes, you'll know pretty quickly if it's a possibility. One great example is the trial session that you can participate in at Toastmasters Speaking Club. There are memberships all over the world, some paid, some free, that'll at least give you a taste of what that experience is, what that community's like, and hint at if it's something you would like to do long term. Number 4 is work for free. Now, this is particularly tied to career or freelance gig economy work, but it can be creative work too. it can be really challenging to get opportunities where in some way a gatekeeper still exists. That being said, if you add value to a workplace, a gig, or a creator, then people would be silly to not accept your help, especially if they don't have to pay you. Internships and volunteer work often gets a bad rep, but if you are the one deciding to do it, then it can be a very helpful way of testing things out while still improving your skills, building your network, and quite possibly in areas that it would be very challenging to gain experience and network in if you were trying to do it paid. Numero 5, number 5, research. There is so much great content out there for free, available at our fingertips that allow us a glimpse into the world of most careers. If you want to get a basic overview of what it's like to pursue a specific path, then turn to things like AI, books, podcasts, blogs, and vlogs that share what those experiences are like. Number 6, courses. Similar to research, but likely costs some money and maybe a little more in depth, you can take a class in the area that is still not too expensive or time-consuming, but can be another way to test an idea in a more sequential, organized manner. You might be able to find courses for free or paid. It might also be worthwhile to just hire a tutor or a coach for one session or an introductory coaching experience, something that gives you a little bit of a glimpse into what the experts teach. And finally, number 7, interview and/or shadow. It's so much easier to learn from other people's experience, mistakes, and routines than to start from scratch. It may be a traditional paid job like teaching, driving Uber, or working in a funeral home. Could be a super creative gig like being a clown, playing music, or street painting. Either way, you could ask to interview someone quickly, or even maybe get permission to follow them while they pursue their own goals for a little while and you see what it's all about. The interviewing aspect is one of the things that I absolutely love about this podcast, the opportunity to ask people from all walks of life what it took for them to succeed in their industry and what things they learned that other people might not necessarily think about. People are always so open to allowing you to ask them questions, especially if just for a few minutes or a voice note, and it can really give you some hints as to whether or not it's something you might like to try. Speaking of the podcast, JKL community, thank you so much for listening. It means the world when you pass this show along. I've been getting lots of feedback, multiple messages a day now from people who really appreciate both the solo episodes and the interviews, to be honest. But what I really love is when people give specific feedback or ideas about people that could maybe come on the show or topics that you'd like to hear me cover. And of course, passing it on to anyone else who you think could benefit from learning, growth mindset, and goal setting means the world too. Until the next episode, all the best. I cannot say enough how much I appreciate you. And remember, just keep learning.